All right, welcome everyone to the podcast. I'm Ginette Biro, and today I have probably one of the most specialist guests. I'm going to say that's a word. Miss Bri Biro. Bri is my daughter, and she's joining me today on the show so we can talk about kids and spirituality, kind of follow on the heels of last week and have a bit of a discussion of things that are relevant in the mind of some kids, maybe. I don't know, we're just going to see where the wind takes us. So welcome to the show, Bri.
Hi.
How's it feel to be on a podcast?
Weird.
A little bit weird? Yeah, that's okay. So we're going to talk about spirit things. How do you feel about that?
Good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Bri, tell me, what do you think happens when someone dies? Let's just start with the big question.
Okay, when someone dies, let's see. Well, they probably go to heaven, right?
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, that's
They go to heaven.
They go to heaven. Okay, fair. Yeah, they do. Do you ever wonder kind of what heaven looks like? What do you think heaven looks like?
I don't know.
Have you ever thought
Maybe
of that?
everything?
Everything? Do you think it would be like water slides everywhere or space?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you picture heaven or the other side, like people call it, what would be something you would want to see there?
Probably space.
Space?
And maybe, I don't know. There's so many things in the world I can't choose.
What if there was an idea that heaven could actually have anything
What do you mean?
wanted? Did you know that when spirits cross over, they actually get to kind of live in a reality or a world that they create? So like, say if you crossed over, you wanted to live in a world of dance, then everything could be dance.
What?
Like you dance everywhere and there's music playing all the time.
I never knew that was possible.
Yeah, I've seen some people when I call their spirit forward and they're busy fishing or they're camping or something, whereas other people are like flying around in space. So it could be anything. So when you crossed over, it could be a world of musicals, maybe where everyone just sings everything the whole time, like musical movies.
That would be interesting.
That's kind of cool, hey?
Yeah.
Now, I have another question for you then. Do you think when pets die, do you think they get to go to the same heaven?
Yes,
Yeah?
I do.
Yeah, I do too. I think so too. You know, and I've had a lot of spirits tell me the same thing, that when they crossed over, their pet from when they were younger, their cat or their dog, or even a parrot came through one time, they were on the other side too. That's kind of cool, hey?
Yeah.
Now, okay, since we're talking about pets, how about the idea, do you think that after this lifetime you could come back as a pet or as an animal?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe.
If you could come back as an animal, which one would you choose?
Oh my God, there's so many animals. If I could come back from one animal, only one.
Say we're picking just one lifetime. There's many available, but what would be the first one you would pick?
Maybe a dog.
A dog?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Why would you want to come back as a dog?
Well, like other animals, you know, they live in the jungle and they kill animals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to get a chance by maybe getting eaten or something. So
okay.
if you're a dog, you have a family to take care of you and other stuff like that. So
That makes a lot of sense. And then you could kind of come back sort of like our dog Maddie did.
yeah.
Yeah, do you remember the story of how Maddie came in?
Mhm.
Do you want to tell everybody this story?
Can you?
How about you tell it as best as you remember?
Okay, so one day my mom said that, well, Maddie came in as a spirit and she said that you're gonna have another baby or a kid. She's like, I have 4 legs And she said, I'm coming in. And Mom's like, what? So she said she must have a dog. It must be a dog. So her friend, my mom's friend, was breeding, her dog was breeding other little puppies. So we went there and we found Maddie.
That's right. And Maddie said she would lead the way for us to find her. So she could have essentially, because she's like a spirit guide, she could have chosen to come in as a human, but instead she figured it would be easier to come in as a dog. And how smart is that? Because look at what you were just saying. You're like, I would want to come in as a dog because I would have a family and they would take care of me and all of this. Like, I think that's literally what Maddie did. And for those of you that haven't heard the story of Maddie, I have done a podcast on it before. And she is our golden retriever. She really is like a spirit guide to our family. And she really guided the whole way in which she found our way to our family. Like she said where. She promised she would let us know which one she was in the litter. And it just all worked out divinely. So, you know, I always believed that people could, or spirit guides, people could come in as pets or different things. But Maddie, the experience of her coming into our world really made that real for us.
She did.
Yeah, she's pretty special.
She is.
Yeah. So then, that being said, I mean, I would agree too. I think we get to have a lot of different lifetimes. Do you know that you can even have lifetimes where you come in as something that's not a pet, but you could come in as like a tree or a flower?
Yeah.
Do you have a specific flower or tree you would ever want to come in as?
Maybe for flower, maybe a rose.
A rose?
How about you?
Ooh, you know, I was thinking a rose too.
You are?
Yeah, I was. I would also, so definitely a rose, but also a sunflower.
Oh yeah, sunflowers are cool.
Yeah, and I really like the sunflowers because, you know, sunflowers like to face the sun, so they'll actually move with the sun. And I just see them as like big smiling happy faces. So, and they're really tall, and it seems like they get to have like a good view in my mind. So that's what I think.
That's big smiley happy face.
Yeah, right. That's true. On Bree's shirt, she's got a big, bright, smiling happy flower. That's pretty perfect. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. What do you think about ghosts?
Ghosts?
Yeah, make sure you stay up on your microphone.
Ghosts, I don't know, in movies are quite creepy.
They are quite creepy in movies.
But in real life, ghosts are just spirits, so.
Yeah. And do you think you need to be afraid of ghosts?
No.
No. Because, I mean, really, how's a ghost supposed to get your attention if it doesn't have a body? To be like, hey, Bree, how you doing? Over here. Hey, poke, poke, right? They can't quite do it, so sometimes they have to try and throw something off the shelf or flick some lights. Did you know that ghosts can really work with energy easily, which is why they like to either flick lights, they can kind of zap it, almost like you see in movies. They're like, zzz, zzz, and it can make the lights flicker.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Same with the radio. They can turn the volume up on the radio without touching it. It's almost like they focus their energy and they're like, turn up the volume, and then it turns up.
Maybe that's what happens with Easton's
Maybe.
Radio, because if he turns it down super slowly, it goes down. If he turns it up super slowly, it goes up. But if he turns it quicker, it just blares you music as loud as it can.
It's true.
Maybe
it is.
Like,
Maybe it is. You know, one time I had a spirit do that to me when I was driving. I was driving on a road one time in the winter, and I was driving a little too fast. And I didn't realize because I had the music on. I was just kind of driving myself. Anyways, all of a sudden, the volume went super high, like crazy high. Mm-hmm. And it kind of jolted me. I was like, what? And I looked at the speedometer that tells me how fast I'm going. And I was going way too fast for the winter road. And then when I focused my energy, I could see a hand pull back in spirit, like a spirit hand, pull back from the knob, the radio knob or the volume knob. And they used the volume to catch my attention so that I would slow down.
That's cool.
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we don't really have to be afraid of ghosts. Hey?
No, we don't.
And did you know that if ever you feel like there's a ghost kind of being pesky or around, did you know that you can use your voice and your energy to say you're not allowed in here?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Just like you would say there was a friend being rude to you at the playground or something, and you're like, I don't like your energy or I don't like your words. I'm not going to play with you. Please don't bother me. Something like that. You can kind of say the same thing to spirits of all kinds.
That's cool.
Yeah. Even if you had spirit guides who weren't scary or anything like that, if they were coming into your room and waking you up at night or something like that and you didn't like it, you could say, hey, I don't really want this at nighttime, kind of creeps me out, but can we visit in the day? And then they'll come back in the day.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what other kind of things do you think is kind of interesting about spirit?
Well, it's interesting about spirit that like spirit can basically go anywhere in like a snap or blink that quick.
Yeah.
Like say they're right here in this room and they just snap and they're at Paris or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that they can also be in this room and in Paris and say Africa all at the same time?
What?
Yeah. They're not limited to being one piece of spirit in one place.
Well, then how do they see all of those things? We have like 3 eyes, like one for one thing, one for another thing, one for the other thing.
Right? But you're picturing spirit to be like a person. Right? But spirit isn't in a person's body.
They can't look like it.
But they can look like it. Yeah. Isn't that neat? And do you know why a spirit can be in one place and then another instantaneously?
Why?
Do you know why?
No.
Because they're energy. And energy doesn't need a specific place in the world to be. And it also doesn't have to travel. Like if we drove to Alberta, we have to drive for 12 hours to get to Alberta, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's because we're 3D people in a 3D world, and it takes 12 hours to go from one place to another. But because spirit's not in this 3D world, they can just be there. Their thought, their energy just makes it happen.
So cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And they could be underwater.
But they can breathe.
But they would be fine. They could be in space. They could be inside a volcano.
Getting erupted and flying out.
They could be, they could hear that pyroclastic blast. Yep, they could. What else could they be? Pirate? They could totally be a pirate.
They could fly into a tree.
They could. Yep, they totally could. Speaking of trees, actually, did you know, so I don't know if we lost this track here, but you can come back as other things than animals or people, right? So you can also come back as a tree. So that being said, did you know that trees have a certain energy that when we touch them or connect to them, they can have us feel certain things like calm or even laughter or things like trees have a spirit?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you feel that sometimes?
No.
No? Do you remember that time we went and played in the woods and we ran around in the forest and like touched the trees and the different things? Do you remember much of that?
Not really, just a little bit.
A little bit? So like if you go up to a tree, or say even this big tree in our front yard there, if you go up to the tree and you hug the tree, it would most likely help you feel really calm and peaceful. Do you know why that is?
No.
Because the trees have their roots down into Mother Earth. So it would be kind of like the same energy, you know, when you hold my hand and that feels comfortable and safe and calm, that's kind of how trees are connected into the earth with their roots. So then when you connect to the tree who's connected to the earth, then you get to also feel safe, calm, and grounded. That's pretty cool, hey?
Yeah.
So you know when they say hug a tree, like go hug a tree, it'll feel better? Like it actually is a thing. Yeah. Same with running in the forest like we did. Yeah. So what else would you want to know about spirit things?
Let me see. Oh, when somebody dies, if they ever get hit by a car, or an animal gets hit by a car, or they somehow get crushed or something, do they feel that, or do they feel that when they get hit or something?
That's a good question. Most of the time, no, they don't. So what's really interesting about that is most of the time the spirit will actually, so say it was a cat crossing the road and it gets hit by a car, most of the time the spirit will actually leave the body right before the animal gets hit. Because most of the time that experience of being hit by a car is not worth it for the soul. It's not important for the soul. All the feeling of the pain and all of that kind of stuff is not needed for the soul, but the soul was ready to exit, to leave and go to heaven. So that was one way in which that could happen, but it doesn't need the experience of feeling it. Just like, did you know that when babies are born, usually their spirit isn't in their body until the baby is out of the mom's tummy? Like with you, when you were born, remember the stories I've told you where I could see your spirit kind of watching me, and then once you were out and they held you up, but then I saw your spirit like go whoop into your little body? Yeah, so the same sort of thing happens when a person or an animal is hit by something or has a really tough passing. That's a good question.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, what else would you want to know about death and dying? Is there anything about that scares you? I mean, that's a big word for a lot of kids to be talking about, although we talk about it, but anything that kind of scares you about that?
No.
No, you're okay with it so far? So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Yeah. How do you feel, how much of you would you say trusts in the idea that there is in fact a heaven?
1 out of 100, it would probably be 95.
95? Okay, that's pretty good.
I don't remember what it looks like. I haven't seen it yet. Blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. That's actually pretty good. You know, it's really normal for people that haven't had a near-death experience like I had, or that aren't mediums or something, to believe it, but still have a little tiny piece that is like, but... Because we like to see something to believe it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. But it's also normal to doubt it too, so that's okay too. Yeah. Let's see. Do you have any other last questions or thoughts?
Questions.
Do kids at school ever talk about spirit stuff?
No.
No, you guys are just too busy playing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, here's a question for you. Is there anything weird to you about having a mom who's a medium?
No.
It's kind of normal?
Yeah.
I guess
it's normal to me.
I guess it's kind of how it's always been.
Yeah.
So to talk about spirit stuff is just kind of how we roll? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Okay, so then last thing. If you could give kids your age or around your age any advice on how to think about spirit, what would you say?
What would I say?
Like, imagine someone was like, Bree, your mom's a medium. Tell me about spirit. What do you think about it? What would you say?
I would probably say they're pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And how would you explain kind of where they are or what they do?
Well, they can do anything. So I could say anything about that one. And then where they are is kind of anywhere either. They can be wherever they want.
That's a good answer. And what if they asked, well, what is spirit? Like, who is spirit? What would you say?
I would probably say, so when somebody dies, like you have your spirit that makes me talk and that makes me do all this stuff. So when somebody dies, their body can't talk or anything because they don't have the spirit in them, because the spirit goes out. And then the spirit's still the same, but the body's not.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what a spirit is, and there's a whole bunch of them.
That's a great
But
idea.
they're all from a different person.
Yeah. What about angels? Do you think angels are part of spirit too?
It's kind of like a spirit guide.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to explain it. What about fairies? You don't know what you think about fairies yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. That's okay. Okay. What about, do you think like aliens fit into that category?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit? Yeah. Do you have anything you think about aliens at all?
Well, I know they can all look different.
Yeah.
Do lots of them look like scary or stuff?
Some can look really different from what kind of a human looks like. Some could look a little scarier from our perspective. but a lot can also look quite human-like. There's some that look very human-like, but maybe just a little bit taller or maybe a little paler skin. Some can have like blue skin. Yeah. But all kinds, some could have green skin, purple skin, like here's a good thought. Okay, this is fun. Anything you could imagine probably is somewhere in the universe.
Okay, so like if an alien had a pet dog, it could maybe have like 6 legs.
Yeah, totally. Yes, you could have an alien. But there's actually some that just look like blobs. They're plasma beings, so they just look like kind of a blob. Yeah. So anything you can imagine, they pretty much are.
That's so cool.
And did you know that, the ideas of mermaids and stuff in our stories actually have some roots or like beginnings in different planets and places where they are just water planets?
They do?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying the mermaids are real?
Well, I guess in that right, yeah. There's so many things in myths and stories that you learn that have little bits of truth in them. So when you hear certain fairy tales or like, say, like a certain Disney movie or something, there's often little bits of truth in them that have a root somewhere. And when I say a root, like they have a beginning somewhere. Like mermaids, for example.
How did they start?
How did mermaids start?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Maybe the creator, source, God decided, we need some mermaids over here. Let's make this blue planet over there full of mermaids. And then maybe another planet over to the left that's purple is the blob one.
And maybe there could be like a rainbow planet, maybe in a different universe that's full with unicorns.
You betcha. Unicorns and rainbows. They always say unicorns and rainbows. Maybe it's exactly that. A rainbow planet with unicorns.
And maybe the rainbow planet has unicorn poop spraying out of it in space. Just so there's like a whole bunch of confetti just spraying out of the planet.
You got it.
That's unicorn poop.
Yeah, you got it. That's funny. All right. Well, any last thoughts or questions or things?
No, not really.
How was it for you being on the podcast?
Cool.
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Well, thank you, Bree, for joining me. This is such a treat for me, too.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you, as always, for joining me on the show. I hope that this episode helped you to embrace that young, youthful nature in exploring the world, exploring spirituality, but also how we can really open up that communication between us and the younger generation and really help them explore and expand their realities by imagination and laughter and silliness. So thank you as always, everyone, for joining the show, and I will see you all next week.
Bye.